You are going to depose Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds. Who else?
Anyone that can provide evidence in this case is going to be deposed. I mean,
That's
for
Taylor
sure.
Swift. She was there.
She was there for that meeting.
Okay, well, I'm a lawyer. I know what that means. Brian, Blake Lively, the last thing she wants is to take the stand. She doesn't want her husband to take the stand. She doesn't want Taylor Swift to take the stand, nor do they want to take the stand. So if they came to you and just said, we will basically call this a massive misunderstanding, can we just drop it? Would you entertain it? I'm curious.
I mean, he was called a sexual predator. So are they saying he's still a sexual predator, but it's a misunderstanding?
You know, Harvey, when you're in the middle of representing one of these people who's in the eye of a storm, and Brian's done it a zillion times, I've done it a fair amount of times, you need to be vindicated. Because at the end of the day, you're not, no amount of money will get you back to square zero. To your point, Harvey, as many people didn't know Baldoni as they knew Lively. However, Lively, be careful what you wish for, has, the public has gone full Amber Heard on her. And Baldoni could have been defined, as Brian just said, as the sexual predator, but for the magnificent job he's done here. So, it's a horrible body blow to have to take and have, can't leave your house. I don't know, and I haven't asked you this, Brian, but I'm going to assume he's got round-the-clock security and his family's had to be relocated and the whole bit.
I mean, there's certainly that invasion of privacy that goes on, but I think it's not so much having something to do with me that turned the tide. I mean, the reason to put the information out there is just because of who he is. It's the truth. It's just the truth. And the reality is that had there been these horrible things, and had there been these horrible text messages, had there been this horrible information, that stuff would have been put out there too.
I appreciate your humility, but you and I both know, and I think Harvey would say the same, a lot of lawyers in your position would have just rolled over and played dead. That's unfortunate. They would not have thought back and just would have thought there's no way to stem this tide. It's a tsunami coming at me.
Yeah. So Mark and I were talking about something before you jumped on. The whole thing is curious, the way Ryan Reynolds got so involved in this, that there was that meeting at their penthouse where he confronted Justin and allegedly screamed at Justin. And we were talking about what brought all of this on. Was it that Blake was going home and expressing her dismay at things that were happening with him? Or was this, I mean, people are kind of talking about this online, kind of a love-hate kind of thing, where all of a sudden Ryan is just saying, just stop it, everybody. And, I'm not saying that happened, but people are talking that way. So I'm just wondering what you think the motivation was where this turned into nuclear war.
Well, as we have alleged in our complaint, that this was a takeover of a movie. And, whether we find out exactly what the reasons for the takeover were and who was behind the takeover, I think that we're going to find some interesting documents when discovery starts. And I'm looking forward to discovery, because when you start to look into what was in Stephanie Jones's hands and what was in Leslie Sloan's hands and what was in Blake Lively's text messages, and what those discussions were like, I think we're going to find the answers to this really quickly.
You are going to depose Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Taylor Swift. Who else?
Well, I don't know that we're going to depose Taylor Swift or not.
Really?
I think that that's going to be, probably a game time decision. I don't know that decision's been made, but I can tell you this: there's anyone that reasonably has information that can be that can provide evidence in this case is going to be deposed. I mean,
that's Taylor Swift. She was there. for that meeting.
She was there for that meeting.
Okay, well, I'm a lawyer. I know what that means. and that's why I'm just thinking that even when you take Blake and Ryan out of it in terms of how they personally feel about it all. I mean, to say that we're going to put Taylor Swift in the middle of this whole thing, I think they are going to do everything they can to avoid going to court, because the last thing they want is to have their friend, the biggest star in the world now, sitting on a stand being grilled by Brian Friedman.
My assumption is that they're going to probably take some legal actions that are beyond the bounds of decency, and we'll see if they can try to avoid a deposition.
How could they do that if there's relevance?
I'm going to object and order the witness not to testify.
You're not his lawyer. You're his friend. Jeez.
Mark is usually my lawyer, though.
I'm working here, guys. I mean, come on.
I know you're working. So am I. So there you go. So am I.